Hello everyone, I'm James Milan. Welcome to this Town Hall update. I am joined as always by Jim Feeney, our town manager. Appreciate you being here, Jim. I'm going to take a big deep breath and start on the list of all the things we're going to talk about today. So, lots of ground to cover. We're going to hear about ongoing property assessments. We're going to get a couple of updates around transportation issues. We're going to talk about the next phase of the gas-powered leaf blower bylaw. We'll talk about town meeting and the Arlington Heights Visioning Survey, some spring and summer recreation programs being offered by the town, the Arlington Civic Academy, and we'll get an introduction to the town's new DEI Director. And that's not even everything. So I want to understand, or I want to start with what I understand to be another triumph for the town, another AAA bond rating. But what does that mean for interest rates, and what should people know about that?
Sure. Thank you, James. So happy to start with some good news that we did, as you mentioned, reaffirm our AAA bond rating, which is in fact the highest rating that you can get as a municipality from a credit rating agency. We did on this issuance use S&P Global Ratings to go through the process. We have to complete an interview, answer a lot of questions. It's really a fairly robust and competitive process, but the credit rating agency found, we continue to have balanced operations within a balanced budget. We engage in conservative budgeting. We have solid financial management and long-range planning. A very stable tax base that is growing more affluent. So those all attribute to our positive or favorable credit rating. But what that does and what that netted this time around is, number one, our bond issuance, and this issuance was just over $11 million for general obligation 30-year bonds. And Fidelity Capital Markets was again the winning bidder. We had a lot of interest. There were 15 bids on our bond issuance. And the average interest rate this time around was 3.54%, which is really remarkably low if you can consider what other people are getting for interest rates. And that was better than last year's borrowing, which we did around the same time. That had netted an average interest rate around 3.7%. So that's good news generally that interest rates are, at least for municipalities, heading in the right direction. And when we get these interest rates, it ultimately saves taxpayers money over the length of that borrowing. So it allows basically, there to be less financial burden for some of these larger capital projects that we do. Mm-hmm. In this borrowing covered some of our standard or customary items like large equipment purchases, like large trucks in public works, some smaller capital projects in school buildings or at playgrounds, but also was probably our second to last borrowing where the proceeds will be used to support the Arlington High School building project. We've now reached about 97% of our borrowing for that project, so that does mean we are nearing completion. So that debt has now almost been fully taken on, but we are timing it with respect to when that last issuance will be, so we know where we are with contingency funds and exactly what our MSBA reimbursement will be for that project. So we, map it out very carefully to ensure we do not borrow more than we need to successfully complete the project.
Okay, I know we have so much to talk about, but I just want to break down what you said and make sure that I understand it, and so the audience as well. Basically, a AAA bond rating allows us to, whenever we need to borrow money, we have institutions responding, like you said, 15 of them to this particular request to borrow money. Mm-hmm. And then the kind of interest rates we're paying on that money is 3.5% or some in that area versus what everybody understands mortgage rates and other things to be right now. So This is really good news.
So it's essentially discounted money. Mm-hmm. It's a great position to be in, and we have to do sort of everything we can to maintain our strong financial position, because it really pays us back in the long run with having to borrow so much money for large capital projects.
Great. All right, well, sticking with the money questions, let's talk about the ongoing property assessments that are happening.
Sure. So as I'm sure you know, every town in Massachusetts is required to inspect properties at least once every 10 years. And we do this so that we can really ascertain the condition of a property so that we have the ability to determine a full and fair assessment, as we'll call it. So the assessor's office started this process a little bit earlier in February through its contractor, Catalyst, formerly Patriot Properties, a known vendor in the community and a vendor that the town has worked with for as many years as I can remember. So as part of this process, the Catalyst inspectors will be conducting property inspections throughout all neighborhoods in Arlington with a focus on inspecting properties that are coming up on their 10-year inspection. So those that were inspected, least recently, to put it one way. And we're gonna, instead of waiting for these sort of milestone dates required by the Department of Revenue, 5 years or every 10 years, we're gonna try to now do these on an annual rolling basis so that it's not so much of a burden in those milestone years and such of a crunch to get into every household. The inspections are really not terribly invasive in that they generally take 10 to 15 minutes of time. Do want to note that each of the Catalyst inspectors has been issued, proper town identification. So I do encourage, tenants, property owners to request to see that and review it to make sure that it is indeed the right person. You are encouraged to schedule an appointment. You can contact the assessor's office at 781-316-3350, or of course, come by town hall if you'd like, if that's easier for you. And if you're interested in knowing when your last inspection was, that information is available on the town's website through our property record database. You can access your what we call your property record card online in a searchable database via address, and that's on the assessor's page of the town's website. So just wanted to let folks know that that process is underway. Encourage folks to schedule an appointment, but also to learn more about what your property assessment is. When was your last inspection conducted? So thank you for.
Okay, so do I understand then that it's not that residents and homeowners, et cetera, property owners will be receiving notice from the town that an inspector will be coming. It's that, in fact, you're alerting people and letting them know it's up to you guys to reach out and arrange for this right now.
Yeah, at some point it's probably going to be a combination of both where, there's some town outreach, but we're also looking for folks to consider scheduling their inspection as well. And there may be times where we simply have to drop by properties as well if no response on those fronts. So I think with something like this, we'll tackle it on a number of fronts. Just want to make folks aware that this process was underway.
Okay, great. A couple of transportation-related updates.
Sure. So the traffic signal at Mill Street and Millbrook Drive is now operational. Folks may, we've all seen it. It's been there for a few months, just sort of in its flashing mode. So it's installed, but is now activated. And what that means is it will now function under its, programmed sequence and timing. That will, it was turned operational this week, which is school vacation week, in advance of the return of students to the high school next Monday, February 24th, which also coincides with the opening of Phase 3 of the Arlington High School building project, where we are introducing new traffic patterns. So really what this signal is programmed to do is during the peak, a fairly narrow band, which we'll call the peak school period in both the morning and afternoon, it will prioritize or provide additional time for clearance to traffic, both entering and exiting Millbrook Drive, to help alleviate some of the congestion on Mill Street. Generally speaking, we hope that it'll make the intersection safer and more efficient for everyone. Now you'll have the opportunity to push the buttons and request a cross, and there'll be, a pedestrian phase. There is a lot of pedestrian activity in that area, given some of the businesses, and there's some senior housing there as well. So, folks have seen the signal, but now they should know it is fully functional and operational, and it does have vehicular detection to improve efficiency, to know
Great.
on all the different approaches where there are vehicles waiting and how many.
That's great. And just, point of clarification, I'm sure people understand, but this intersection you're talking about is the main way in to the high school if you're driving a car, for sure.
Yes, that is the case.
Okay. And there was one other intersection you want to talk about, I think.
Yep, so nearby, but not on the road, but instead on the Bikeway, we are taking sort of the next step in the Minuteman Bikeway improvement section, and we'll be honing in on an area right at the sort of intersection of behind the Ed Burns Arena and Ryder Street. The stretch of the corridor we're looking at technically extends from like the bridge on Forest Street to what we know is Hills Hill, which is the field beyond the playground at our Summer Street Recreational Complex. And what we're looking to do is choose a preferred preliminary concept for this stretch of the Bikeway so that we can redesign it. This area, when the Minuteman Bikeway planning project was underway back in 2022, was designated as one of the highest priority areas for consideration of improvement. Right, it's a busy intersection. There are a lot of conflicts. There is a high level of use in this particular vicinity. So we're looking at different improvements that would introduce a splitter island at that crossing at Ryder Street, some wayside pull-off areas, so a little bit of widening, and separating the walking trail to create a dedicated space for pedestrians in this particularly busy vicinity. So we have 3 conceptual design alternatives available on our website, and we're inviting the community to provide feedback on each of them via an online form on the project webpage, and they can do so up until March 9th. So following that public comment period, we'll take the community's feedback to determine what the preferred conceptual design will be, and then we will advance that to further stages of design through this process. So certainly learn more about the project and its timeline on the project webpage, but we're looking for as much input as we can get from the community on those pretty disparate concepts.
We all want to live in a place where we get to have that kind of input, so let's exercise our power there. Okay, here's a few words that I haven't said on the town hall update in a long, long time. Gas-powered leaf blowers. So there was a bylaw passed a while back. You have an update for us.
Yeah, though we are in the heart of winter, spring and leaf blower season is right around the corner. And as you know, and as you discussed, there was a bylaw that was approved by Arlington's town meeting that introduced a gradual phase out of gas-powered leaf blower use in Arlington. That was passed in 2022. So that initial phase started last season and placed certain restrictions on commercial operators in Arlington. But the second phase will go into effect as of March 15th of this year. That will introduce a permanent ban on gas-powered leaf blower usage by commercial operators in town, but also introduces some limitations on both the days and times for which residents can use gas-powered leaf blowers. And there'll be a later phase that takes effect in January 2026 that then will phase out the use of gas-powered leaf blowers by residents at that time. There are some carve-outs or exceptions in the bylaw, particularly for the town, for some of the larger pieces of equipment that we use that are still gas-powered, but that help us more efficiently and effectively clean, like the Minuteman Bikeway and some other very large municipal properties for which there is not yet an electric piece of equipment that would serve our needs. So, in advance of implementation, I just want to give folks some understanding. If you believe there is a violation of this bylaw following March 15th, you may report it to the Board of Health via the Request and Answer Center on our website, or can do so via email as well. But there would be the appropriate authority to call those complaints or reports into.
All right, great. You just mentioned that spring is right around the corner, Jim, and I'm going to hold you to that. One thing that also will come upon us faster than we think is town meeting, of course. So Tell us about the warrant.
So the warrant in its draft form has been published and made public. You can find it on the town meeting page of the town's website. This year, there are 78 articles on the draft warrant. Town meeting is slated to begin on April 28th at 8 p.m. and as is customary, will run every Monday and Wednesday evenings until all articles are heard, voted on, and disposed of. So I invite folks to view the draft warrant again on the website, and you're right, town meeting will be here before we know it.
All right, and you want to tell us about a survey about our dear neighborhood of Arlington Heights right here.
Yes, just at the bottom of the hill, we are sort of resurrecting a project that had begun before the pandemic through the Department of Planning and Community Development. They had worked with the Arlington Heights community to develop a vision for the Arlington Heights Business District. Some time was obviously lost to the pandemic, and we're looking to reboot that work and starting to again seek input from residents, businesses, community members, neighbors for their vision for Arlington Heights. So this is part of a larger Arlington Heights neighborhood action plan, which seeks to re-envision and sort of energize this, historic commercial area that we have via potential zoning changes and other considerations. So that survey, also available on the town's website, will be available to anyone who wants to fill it out before March 14th.
All right. And again, in the wishful thinking department, let's talk about spring and summer, summer rec or spring and summer recreation opportunities.
Yes, registration is now open for Arlington Recreation, and they are again offering a wide variety of program for both the spring and summer sessions. So want to make everyone, especially parents, aware of the programming that is available this year. We're again offering our very popular Club Rec, which is the annual summer camp program. This is an all-day program, but there are 4- and 5-day options available to parents, which provides some good flexibility. In terms of the new and exciting department, the Arlington Recreation Department is now going to offer some STEM programming, including some science classes at their new home within the Parmenter School. So that is a new offering, and they will also be offering a new summer street hockey programming, as well as a playground puck camp. So some new and interesting offerings that I just wanted to put out there for folks to know that when they look at the brochure this year, there's some new things as well as that standard list that really goes on and on. It's remarkable, sort of the diverse programming they're able to offer in such a short period of time. So please go to the Arlington Recreation website to learn more and register for classes and camps before they fill up.
That's right. And register for them, and then maybe that will bring spring on itself.
Yeah.
So for those who are interested in getting one of the coveted 20 spots in the Civic Academy coming up, they need to know about this deadline.
So it is fast approaching. Folks who are interested in joining the next cohort of the Civic Academy can apply by February 23rd. We are again expecting this to be, highly popular and ultimately competitive, and we expect more applications than we have spots to fill, but the deadline is fast approaching for February 23rd. And as a bit of a refresher, the Civic Academy will allow participants to gain knowledge on a more granular level of exactly how the town works, but also the various roles in the town's government that they may wish to play as resident volunteers. And they will learn about our operations and meet department heads and elected officials through a series of 6 2-hour sessions that take place on consecutive weeks. And they provide you the opportunity to visit different buildings around town, which you might not otherwise visit. Could be town hall, police station, fire station, Arlington High School, an opportunity to visit the new public works facility. So, not only do you get to learn about the town's government, but you get to see other parts of buildings that you may not otherwise find occasion to visit. So really do invite folks to learn more and apply if you're interested.
Yeah, and I have to say, from folks I've talked to who've done it, and also my own experience with the similar thing that the police have offered. It truly is a glimpse, of the things, the way things really work, and you get to talk to the people who are actually doing that work about it, and it's a great opportunity. So, jump on it, folks. All right, Jim, I'm happy to say for you that we're nearly done. Let's get a couple of operational updates for you, and then a couple of acknowledgments that I know you want to make.
Sure. So we'll focus internally for a second. And I'm ecstatic to announce that we have appointed a new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director, Ramsha Baloch. We have just welcomed her to the team, and as you know, and as we've talked about before, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director and the division within Health and Human Services supports many partnerships, not just with town departments, but with countless organizations and community members across town in areas of equity and inclusion. Specifically, Ramsha will be working with our Disability Commission, our Rainbow Commission, our Human Rights Commission, just to name a few. As this position has a very wide-ranging, list of duties and responsibilities. So Ramsha brings significant DEI experience to the town. She most recently was serving as the Assistant Director of Student Equity and Inclusion at Bentley University, where she led a number of initiatives aimed at creating inclusive environments. So we're very excited. Baloch holds a mini MBA from Bentley, a Diversity and Inclusion certificate from Cornell University, a Master's in Education, Gender, and International Development from University College London, a Bachelor of Communication Design from the National College of Arts in Lahore, Pakistan. She is fluent in Hindi and Urdu. We're just so excited. She has such solid credentials paired with very practical real-world experience that we're just thrilled to have her on the team, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to welcome her to Arlington.
Yeah, welcome, Ramsha. What a moment to be coming in as the new DEI director. Good luck to her, and I look forward to meeting her. A couple of other things, though, I think you wanted to mention.
Yeah, and as we've sort of been weaving through here, it seems like winter is finally here. It finally arrived in February. It's been a challenging month for all of us. There hasn't really been that one blockbuster event, but it's been what I call a paper cut month, right? It's this cycle of snow and ice operations seemingly every few days. So I just wanted to take the time to express my gratitude to our public works crews, our contractors, but also to the residents for their work in keeping sidewalks passable. And I do this because their work, especially within public works, following this weekend's event, it was a marathon event. They worked for 24 straight hours, dealing with this just event that went from snow to just torrential downpours leading to street flooding, but to then a rapid drop in temperatures that led to this deep freeze, and now the town is just covered in, for lack of a better word, ice banks that everyone is having a really challenging time dealing with. So, they were deployed for 24 hours straight, doing all sorts of different activities related to that snow event, and then it's go home for a little while, and then it's back overnight on Monday to do cleanup operations. We had enough accumulation on Mass Ave where we had to go out there with the heavy equipment and start cleaning crosswalks and curb cuts and bus stops and ADA parking areas. So that was, all night Monday night, and then back again all night Tuesday night, and they're out there all day, every day of the week, cleaning, key crossings on safe routes to schools. So, it's not so much just the acute nature of when the precipitation is falling, but snow and ice operations continue for days and potentially even weeks after the snow has fallen. So just wanted to take the time to acknowledge their hard work really throughout the month of February, but especially with this event, which certainly lingered with us and it's going to be a little while before we see a warm up, so this stuff's going to be sticking around for a bit.
As it has for months, really. Snow's been on the ground for a really long time. Prodigious efforts, as you described. Let me just suggest to people that they take your lead. And if you see DPW workers at work, thank them. There's nothing wrong, you know, that they're going to appreciate it, and they certainly deserve it. And that's what Jim's doing here. I invite everybody out there to do the same.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Anything else? How could there be anything else?
I think that covers it.
All right, we're going to let you go. Jim Feeney, an quite amazing performance, actually, just kind of delivering the news in all those different areas. We really appreciate his time. We do appreciate yours as well. This is the Town Hall Update, and I'm James Milan. We'll see you next time.